a team in our group that has really impressed me is RNG, and I think coming into the group, I felt like Samsung and TSM would actually be stronger, but they can really drive home victories from the early games they have, and I feel like that's a big advantage they have over the other teams.
And it's going to be an advantage that Splyce is going to have to be able to shore themselves up against to get ourselves back into the Worlds 2016 group stage. We're going to start with the starting lineups here for these two rosters with Splyce up against Royal Never Give Up. Splyce from Europe is Wonder. Just heard from him in the top lane. Trashy in the jungle. Sencooks in mid. Kabi at AD carry. Mickey on support with Coach Yamato Cannon.
Yeah, and they're up on the red side against Royal Never Give Up. Top lane is Looper, MLXG in the jungle. Xiaohu in mid lane. Uzi and Mata is the bot lane. And Fly is their coach. RNG, you never know what you can really expect from them.
That's exactly what I expect from an acronym like that. Good job.
Insert clever joke
what's
about
in a
never
name?
giving up.
Yeah,
We're so clever.
When the Nexus blows, oh, and they never gave up.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Thanks for previewing how this one's going to go down. But yes, this is going to be, I think, an interesting matchup because there's so much on the line here. We talked in the last game about there being a three-way tie for first, right now broken by Samsung winning. But we know that Royal can catch up to them. And with Splyce 0 and 3, they're looking, I think, primarily to play spoiler.
And these teams as well, they're just so stylistically opposite. RNG's main strengths is the really super strong laning phase. They have a team with an incredibly high ceiling. Coach Aaron from EDG often speaks, if RNG hits their ceiling, they're the best team, maybe even in the world. And then you look at Splyce, they're centered along not superstars, more teamwork-oriented team, you know, power of friendship, etc. But they fall through at Worlds because I feel individually they can't match many of these teams, especially not RNG.
Yeah, and I also feel like if you're just looking at these teams as far as past results, the 10,000 gold lead was the biggest 20-minute gold lead we had at this tournament. We mentioned TSM had that 8,500 gold lead in week 1. Well, the #1 gold lead was actually RNG smashing Splyce so hard in lane.
Yeah, exactly. This was super, super rough. We know, especially their bottom lane of Uzi and Mata, one of the very best in the world, just kind of crushed Kabi and Mickey X, and that was, you know, one of the big things as well. And just overall, it's been that sort of story is Royal, often very, very good early game, and as long as they hold on to that sort of stature, they just walk over the rest of you.
But that's Royal snowballing, getting ahead, playing super clean, and looking like a world-class team. But this is also the team that went into a 5-game series against IMA that was incredibly sloppy in the LPL playoffs here, so they can sometimes just drop the ball altogether. And Splyce, they have shown clutch moments. By no means are they a favorite in this matchup, but they still always have that 30-40% chance of doing something odd and taking it home.
Yeah, and this group is so stressful, I would say, for the 2-1 teams, knowing that they can kind of all take games off of each other. Because if you then lose one game to Splyce, instead of having a 3-way tie at 4-2, you're just out of the tournament and you wouldn't get to play in that theoretical tiebreaker. So it's very important that RNG take care of business here against Splyce.
Very big deal. Everyone has to make sure they do not overlook Splyce right here. We know they can be threatening enough to do well. Vladimir, the final ban, setting up for what looks like a first pick Syndra if it'll come through for Sencooks. Royal will have to decide that that will be the last ban.
Yeah, he's actually had some pretty good Cassiopeia games, but I don't necessarily think that's a first pick. I like the Ezreal ban by Splyce because the Ezreal Nami lane is what trashed their game before between Uzi and Mata, so just picking a solid jungler seems like a smart early move for Splyce.
And I wonder if they're going to kind of tournament adaptation and just put Wunder on an early Poppy. Just give him a tank in the top lane that he can be serviceable on. I like the Elise first pick. I'm a big fan of the Aurelion Soul ban against Sencooks because it's one of his stronger champions, and it also allows him to shore up weaknesses by pushing and roaming here. RNG want to keep the lanes isolated, keep it 2v2, 1v1, and then have the Spear jungle come through in MLXG.
Yeah. I'm also seeing RNG picking a pretty strong laning phase early on. The Jhin and Karma have a huge amount of level 1 and 2 pressure.
Definitely really strong power spike, both 1 and 2, and especially if they pick the Karma. There's always this debate, Nami versus Karma, but the thing is, Nami actually has to land skill shots. And Mickey X on the stage is a very nervous player and can get flashed aggressively, whereas Karma is kind of the plug and play. It's the easiest range support to play, very obvious laning patterns, and it's almost a takeaway, I feel, from Mickey, putting him out of his comfort zone.
And that was actually one of the jokes we had about Player of the Game in North America, is how we never give it to Karma, because it's actually really hard to tell, oh, you press the shield on the right people, good job, man. The complexities of that champion are a little bit less than the outplay potential you'd have on something else.
Like a Bard or an Alistair, we've seen people take over games, these kinds of champions, and, well, we'll see how well Mata can do on this one. Seeing people jump away from tank support somewhat. We know Alistair in particular has been valuable, but not seeing it here. It's up to Splyce to figure out what they want to do, looking at a strong laning phase with the Nami themselves.
Yeah.
Let's see, it's actually going to be Braum and the Jace locked in.
So, no Poppy top lane.
Yeah.
Looking to be a Jace. Technically a flex, but so likely to go top lane on Wunder. Going for the Braum early, at least to have teamfight presence. It is a shift we've seen in the tournament. We saw everybody put all their stocks in the range support market and then realize the likes of Alistair and Braum are still quite valuable later in the game if you can stay even. But that will be a tall task for the Splyce bot lane.
Especially because you still need some semblance of fight lines when you get to team fights, and if you have no tanks on the team, it becomes an incredibly awkward experience. So if you do want to pick a Jace and have the option of putting him top lane, you're hard-pressed to throw it with a Nami support because then you just have no way of team fighting properly.
But look at this draft right here. Braum, one of the weaker laners. You're up against Caitlyn, Karma. What a brutal 2-on-2 to face against when Uzi and Mata are already better laners than Kabi and Mickey. And this 2-on-2 bot lane looks already incredibly rough.
Yeah, I like the soft punish here on the Braum pick with the Caitlyn pairing with the Karma. We see on first rotation as well, an Olaf pick here once Nidalee and Elise are off the table, combined with some sort of movement speed steroid here in the Karma. So it does seem that today we might see a lot more of that Olaf pick come out, boosted by either a Sivir or a Karma.
Yeah, the early game potential is huge for the Olaf. It definitely does fall off in the later game, but so much of the power in this tournament has been defined by the early game, and when Nidalee is off the board, a lot of teams are throwing in Olaf or Elise as that second-tier jungler.
Yeah, gotta keep our eyes on Trashy here with the Elise. I feel like he almost has to gank bot lane, level 3 or 4, just show up, even if the gank fails, for some pressure, because there is innate kill pressure. Between an exhaust, a Braum Q, or just a passive applying and a cocoon, it is incredibly easy to kill the Karma, because while they have sustainable damage output and poke, she drops quite easy in lane.
Yeah, and then you also look at the mid lane for Splyce. They're picking a Malzahar up against Karma Rise Olaf. That's incredibly difficult to survive if you're Senkook. So RNG have a lot of initiation options, and they're very difficult to avoid.
But Splyce, in this tournament, their strength used to be the late game. The mid to late game macro shot calling, and they could fall down a little bit because they played the 1-3-1 to a T, but they found out that the teams here at Worlds are equal, if not better, in the late game. So I feel like they're putting in a snowball composition here. They're basically saying snowball or bust. We're gonna make it work, get an advantage in the lanes, make us the chasers and never have that Olaf run us down in the mid lane, and hopefully survive that way. It's a very risky gambit, but if you were 10,000 gold down last time against his team, you gotta try something.
I think it makes sense. I like the strategy that Splyce have gone for here. First two items going to be the important ones. A lot of ways to go forward and push down on your targets. That's going to be Splyce's game plan.
Yeah, I also agree with you. If you're 0-3 in the first week, you may as well take some risks. Try and plug some of the holes that were opened up when you were crushed by them last time. Getting rid of the Ezreal is nice. Trying to pick the Nami as well for a stronger dual lane. Or sorry, the Braum for at least a bit of defense in the duo lane are good things for Splyce to go for.
So we'll see if it's going to work out for Splyce, because Royal never give up, of course. 2-1 starting the day, hoping to keep pace with Samsung to get that #1 spot and let us know who it's going to be. Hashtag SPY win, hashtag RNG win to tell us which squad is going to be to take this game down. 0-3 European LCS Splyce, 2-1 China LPL. Royal never give up, hoping for a spot. Splyce still has the chance of making quarters, but they must win all 3 games today, I do believe. We'll see if they can do it as we are getting ourselves onto the Rift for Game 2 of the day.
Absolutely, a 3-3 record would be, I think, enough to get a tiebreaker, but if they lose a single game,
It's over.
It's over. And then they're just trying to spoil everyone else's dream.
But we've had one dream, one European dream come through. So why not make it 2?
That's really the thought there, right? H2K went 4-0 yesterday after looking pretty rough in the first week. Sometimes people turn it on when it matters most. Splyce hoping to live in the same shadow that H2K did.
And it's a stretch. It's so unlikely to happen.
Stretch.
But if there's any team that could collapse and give Splyce the motivation, the mental boom, the boost to make it all happen, it is RNG, because they're so binary in their games. They look so strong one day and they completely fall apart. But if you look at their history, they've also shown really just sweet League of Legends. Start of spring, MLXG and Xiaohu, they were just murdering people 2v1 in the mid lane. But then this week, one at Worlds here, their synergy's kind of fallen off. Xiaohu had the least jungle proximity out of all mid laners, or he was down at the bottom at least there.
Yeah.
in the stats right there. So MLG wasn't helping him.
Exactly, and Xiaohu's only dealt 18.6% of his team's damage to champions. Some of that is swayed by the fact that Uzi has been doing so much, but it speaks to a low effectiveness on the mid lane, especially when he played Cassiopeia in their loss to Samsung. He was very ineffective and made some poor just map plays as well as missing a lot of skill shots. So all of these teams that ended at 2-1 will have things they want to build on and things they want to avoid.
I want to bring up a little thing that Mata's done right here. You actually have a choice when playing Karma to go Wind Speaker's Blessing, which is more common. You get better shields on Karma. Or to go Thunderlords and try to get a little bit more aggressive in lane and do more damage. When they lost to Samsung last week, it was him going Ignite against a Kennen, picking Summoners to win a lane, and giving up team fight power. Mata here is back with the Exhaust and going for the extra shielding, not going for quite as much lane power, going for more team fight power.
And this is Mata's favorite style on the Karma. He just ignores the enemy support and he will go as if he's a heat-seeking missile for the AD carry. And it was actually up to Mickey there to try and block damage for Kabe. It's just the little things. Mata can actually get punished there. He plays beyond the edge of kind of safety in lane because he just really likes hitting AD carries.
And there are two of the players here, as far as being world-class, that deny the most CS. Every time Kobe tries to step up for a hit, both Uzi and Mata will be locked onto him. So it's going to be a tough lane.
Especially on a champion like Jhin. The laning pattern is completely different here. You're stuck on awkward shots. Your Q ruins the next creeps here. So while challenging every CS, super important.
There's already a ward tracking Trashy as well on his own Raptors. Nicely done by Xiaohu to get that one down, I believe it was. Nice Soul Flare from Mata, gets some more damage onto Kabi. And you're seeing this is a difficult laning phase right now for Splyce. Already 3 minutes in, down 100 gold overall. For some of that weighed out by the top lane that's doing well for Wonder so far in Jhin vs Poppy, but this is going to be a tight game with Uzi and Mata looking to be crushing their lanes.
And they do have a ward, but Trashy's not even on this side, so the harass is just going to continue from RNG. Mata takes a turret shot, doesn't care about it because they are shoving these guys in.
There's an Olaf approaching the top lane right here. Trashy's pathing towards that area, but he's much later than MLXG.
Looking for the play, Olaf behind. Trashy gonna go the other way and reveal on a ward.
This makes this gank so low risk for MLXG.
Guaranteed 2v1. Wonder trying to run to get away from him. Does get the knockback, but does he have the movement speed? He's gonna flash Looper, buys him some time. The undertow lands, and he falls juke, and Wonder gets away. Looper saved his life, I'm pretty sure. And the stun lands.
Man.
Trashy, will he chase? No, but he's gonna get some damage and applies the red buff, and Wonder lucky to get out.
But we have to question Trashy's pathing here. He takes a right when he should have taken a left. He's putting all the emphasis on vision control and Scuttle Crabs to dodge maybe ganks, but in essence, he could gank bot lane to save them and help his top laner snowball when he has stacked the wave. Could predict the Olaf coming up in the top lane.
Yeah.
Instead, he's just so centered on minions and vision.
Trashy took an extra camp when he didn't necessarily have to, and that's not the game MLXG was playing. They get away with it because 2 summoners are burned by RNG, and Wonder still gets away. Not to mention Trashy then gets to counter jungle, but kind of gets rewarded for doing the wrong thing.
Good damage here, but then you saw them get away in time, and now looking for the next gank on a Xiaohu. He's silenced, the flash cocoon! Oh, it wore off in time. Trashy couldn't get the stun in. That would have been significant damage in a Xiaohu. But now it's down both summoners in the RNG mid lane.
Yeah, and the CS advantage is going to grow for Wonder in that top lane, knowing that Looper and MLXG both failed their gank after using both summoner spells. So they're getting pushed into the bottom side, but they're pushing in the top side, and now both summoners are off of the rise, so Senkook should get a little bit of reprieve here.
Yeah, they could punish that on level 6, just goes forward, put out the ultimate, have the Elise show up, but in the bottom lane, Kabe is looking at his team, is like, guys, I thought we were ganking top and mid lane. Where's the kills? Because Kabe last game was down 2.7.
Oh, he could die!
No, Kabe!
One hit, Uzi will not flash. He respected the fact that Kabe could heal. Quick root comes out, Mata a bit low, but it should be a forced recall out for Splyce. The Ignite, the shield should be enough. Mata should live, but he's gonna be very low.
Yeah, and to speak to Kabe saying team, he had the lowest jungle proximity, 3.3% of the time Trashy was down. That's like one visit where you're probably just catching the AD carry while he's walking by Krugs. And like that's the jungle proximity that he had in the early half of the group stage. So he's on his own, and it's not going to be pretty.
And that led to him being down 2.7k gold at 15 minutes against his lane opponent. Last game they played, so he's hoping for at least to be down, maybe just 1,000, you know?
Hoping for it. Right now, Splyce actually, as a team, up 100. That top lane matchup is actually smashing. Wonder doing incredibly well up against Looper, who is one of the very best top laners in the world. Looper, former world champion on Samsung White. definitely an excellent competitor, but right now, that failed gank and the counter by Trashy means Wonder's beating him.
Yeah, and we've seen the Poppy versus Jace matchup play out a lot. The Jace does win it, not necessarily by this margin, so props to Wonder. It's still going to come down to whether or not Looper can be effective in team fights, because if you look at the RNG team composition, they have some very strong tanks in the Poppy and the Olaf supported by the Karma, but if he falls too far behind, it's not going to matter.
What we've seen from most Poppy matchups is that they eat a big CS deficit early, but then they keep it relatively stable once they're past level 6 and 7 here, but they get pushed in continuously here. So Wonder wants to get fed. Splyce is looking to punish the double summoner loss here in the mid lane, however.
This top lane is going to freeze, though. He can make Looper overextend. Meanwhile, Trashy's been taking over some of the top lane camps as well. He's up 200 gold individually. Went for mobility boost as well. Copy another trade in. Mickey doesn't get a ton of damage across, but lands the Q onto Uzi. Ooh, another chase in, and actually some good fire back here from the bot lane of Splyce.
Double longsword keeps him competitive in the damage race right there, but Trashy is warding off.
I like it. They're going for aggressive plays in the jungle because they have control both mid and top lane, and they have level 6 power spike on Senkux here, so Splyce.
Ooh, level 6. He can go for the ulti. He's going to, but is there any follow-up to be had? He's not in range for much of it. The Ghost already back up for Xiaohu. Okay, he burns a cooldown, gets him to half, but not a lot to be done. Now trading back in as Xiaohu.
That's honestly a bit of a mistake here from Senkux. Over-eager. Jungler still had flash down. He wasted kind of one bullet in the shotgun shell.
I think it's a missed opportunity. You have an Elise with boots of mobility and a guy who doesn't have his flash. If Senkux wanted to have a little bit more patience, I think he could have easily gotten in range to go for that kill, but opportunity lost. Flash is going to be up by the next time. Senkux can try that.
Yeah, and while the top lane is pushing back and frozen, it's really hard for a Jace to win trades into a big minion wave because they're so auto-attack dependent, and if he does use his spells, it'll bounce the wave anyway. So in that sense, I think Looper's actually quite comfortable with the way the wave is being handled in the top lane. Uzi,
good bounce.
good poke.
Couple hundred damage done again. Uzi just so good at getting those auto attacks down. That headshot comes through. MLXG puts the Wolf Spirit in, clears his own camp, and looks to make sure he can secure his own buffs. Trashy is going back in his own jungle as well.
But temporarily, Kabe and Mickey X have bounced back in a huge way.
Yep.
They were getting completely zoned off in their turret. Now to have this CS difference be 6, even though they're down a BF sword to double longsword, is very impressive. They continually are landing these skill shots to keep RNG on the back foot.
And this matchup spikes super hard at level 6. Karma gets no added utility or no added combat strength really on level 6. Yes, your Mantra gets a little bit better, but that's nothing compared getting access to a Braum ultimate, because that means these guys can just both flash it aggressively. They can guarantee a stun proc into a Braum ultimate, and that's one shot.
And this really helps Splyce from an overall perspective, because their game plan was to abandon Kabe and Mickey X and just take hits in order to try and get pushing lanes in the top and mid side and invade MLXG's jungle, keep him down because of that. It's actually all working. Kabe and Mickey X have withstood, actually done pretty well, and they're reaping the rewards on the rest of the map.
And if I told you Splyce would outlane Royal by 300 to 400 gold, coming into Worlds, you would not believe me. There's almost no chance.
Could call you an EU fanboy.
I'd call, but this is what's happening here in front of us.
If you say they would consistently outlane Royal, no. But if you tell me there's a game where Royal goes down 500 gold in lane phase, I'll be like, hell yeah, dude. I've been watching my some Royal.
All right, fair enough. So maybe the occasional low form Royal here, but still props to Splyce for doing well. It was largely a group of rookies.
Definitely.
For most of these players, their first year as a pro, some of their first split as a pro, up against former world champions, double world championship finalist Uzi, like some incredible players on Royal.
Yeah, and their growth too. May have to talk about that later, depending on when MLXG wants to go here. But coming into summer, they were not favorites at all.
Yeah, that's
beautiful play. Looper jumps to the minion, gets a knock up onto Wonder. MLXG comes on the left-hand side, flashes the way from the undertow, but that is summoner down, and a well-executed gank by Looper.
Yeah, Crepo and I both give claps there, though, to Wonder for definitely avoiding yet another gank. He flashed in the only place he could, gets the ultimate out of Looper. It is kind of why it's hard for Jace to push a big CS advantage over Looper. They're going for this play again, though.
Trashy, is he going to jump the wall? Yes, he will. Cocoon's going to land, a chain of crowd control. Xiaohu's going to run, but he's back in range. Is it enough damage? It's not. Xiaohu getting out with the summoners burned, and good escape.
Trashy was about half a second early, it felt like, with that Cocoon. It's so difficult to change at exactly the right time. Xiaohu does get both summoners. It was a nice attempt to the play to give them mid lane pressure, but so close to that first blood.
Yeah, so much pressure, but it feels a little bit forced and disjointed here in the mid lane jungle combination, but the rest of Splyce definitely playing much better than week 1. And I just want to go back to that point. Coming into Summer Split, these guys were not even favorites to make playoffs. I had them ranked 10th. I thought they were going to get relegated, honestly, with mikyx, just a rookie coming in. And it changed the entire scope of the team, especially Wunder stepped up so much.
Gotta dodge the axes.
Doesn't dodge the axe. Unless he pops the ult to not get knocked back. Can he get rid of Looper? Yes, he will. But is there going to be enough chase down? It looks likely. FLICKR dodges Undertow. Does he have the damage? FLICKR going to get out of turret range, and first blood comes through for Royal.
Couple beautiful micro plays there from Wunder. He knocks Puppey out, so the Q misses, sidesteps an axe, does the bolt into switch, going for the triple hit, hoping to get the right target low enough, but it just one more second and he can actually pick up a double kill.
Very tight
bot lane.
Land the root, land not quite the cocoon, but Mata can still get slowed. He's now in range of Trashy, and that should be a kill. Will there be another? Uzi could get stunned. One auto, one more will do it, and it's actually forcing the flash out of Uzi. He was afraid of the chase down.
What game are we watching right now? They get the kill on the bottom lane and force the summoners to boot. Wunder nearly gets away from the gank in the top lane, but because they trade kills on both sides of the map, the game stays with a slight edge to Splyce.
Splyce
running forward, not gonna find it.
Yeah, the only thing that could block them right now is maybe Trashy's mental state, because he's been missing a couple of key cocoons. Yes, there was a flash, but there's a world where he can hold it, maybe wait for another shot to come out from the Jin ulti, and then land it for sure. Hopefully he keeps having the confidence to keep going for this place, because that's exactly what Splyce needs to do.
Nothing broke Trashy's mobility boots, so it allowed him to continue the move forward and eventually secure that kill onto Mata. I still think that was a very clean game.
I actually think Kabi should have held his last shot. Mata was guaranteed dead. That fourth shot does 300 damage and slows Uzi. That's a double kill if he has the trust that Trashy lands 2 auto attacks. That could have been a 2 for 0.
But that's the kind of play you make in scrims, but when you're already 0-3 in groups, you're definitely going for that last shot. Because if
you don't want to risk
actually
it,
went for
even
the
if it's right.
heal, maybe Mata survives randomly and suddenly nobody dies.
3-man roam coming up to the top side here, though. They're trying to poke him down as much as possible. And the Malzahar's here without a minion wave, so this would be a brute force play. They may end up either trading the mid turret or giving time for RNG to defend.
Several turrets at half HP, both in the mid and top lane. Splyce going to cash in with the top lane pressure.
There is Realm Warp plus Olaf though coming on.
They can make it in right now.
Good juke away from Looper. The stun's going to land a bit of CC, but they want to kill off him and the turret. First turret goes through to Splyce. Now Looper is low, and they're going to kill him off. It's 1 for 0. FLICKR burning down the Voidlings on the chase. Will they knock out Olaf? And yes, a double kill for Sencooks.
They got Looper, they got the turret, the Realm Warp was late, and the Malefic Visions bounced, I think, from Looper onto FLICKR, which prompted the Voidling steroid, and then they're auto lockdown on the target. Now Mata gets hit.
Oh, this is a bit risky though.
Summoner
Nick's gonna
spells.
run low on HP, but the shots are coming through. He's got one more bullet in the chamber. Uzi's gonna block it. The bounce comes through. Can he get another? The grid. He's got no HP, but Uzi gets the outplay, and mikyx gets him back. The swag Braum, the Splyce logo, the duo kill for Splyce.
Splyce, baby. Mickey setting up the freeze as well. They're 3,000 gold in the lead right now, and the European dream is alive.
Oh my goodness, they're better at doing the week 2 wins rather than what NA's got going on. This dive, the turret dies to minions, Looper falls, and the silence also hit them at the end of this fight.
Silence hit them, and the Malefic Visions bounce to FLICKR, which means if Malefic Visions is on a target, all the Voidlings will auto-acquire that target and run at it with a frenzy, which means he dies on the back end. And then this trade here, this was Splyce kind of figuring out how do we play this alongside the trade. They went all in on Mata. Uzi was very late in stepping in front of any of these bullets.
And it's so interesting, Freak. You talked about Mata going with the more defensive Karma build, exhaust instead of ignite, plus the wind speakers. He doesn't exhaust anyone in this fight because he's never really in range to get to the Jin at any point. Also, imagine if he had Thunderlords, the early lane could have been pressed further. Yes, he's gone with a more defensive style, but he doesn't seem to be able to play that defensive style.
Just going for the fights, but he's 0-2-1 here. Trashy gonna find FLICKR in the jungle, and look at the respect Olaf has to give away to this Elise. He knows Wunder can join easily. Splyce owning this northern jungle right now, continue to have Wunder push in 1-0 in turrets. And with all of one gank, Kabi and mikyx doing well in the bot lane.
And we've been looking at this a lot from the Splyce point of view. But if we take some of the decisions that RNG was making, the fact that he actually went for a Realm Warp roam into the top lane, instead of just trading turrets top for mid, if not even just damage, and having Looper back off there, I found that to be a peculiar decision, because mid tower is so much more valuable than the top lane tower. And now Splyce they also get the enemy mid lane turret right now, so they're breaking open the map. 2 turrets for none, and RNG seems very reluctant to make any cross-map plays.
I agree with you. I think RNG is at their best when Mata's on an initiating champion that can roam, but he has been actually stuck in this bottom lane for most of the match, and Looper, Xiaohu, and MLXG haven't been winning the 3v3 on the other side.
Real aggression from Trashy, and I think it all goes back to Wunder early. If he dies to that gank, the snowball starts, but he dodged so many actions, bought so much time here. And honestly, he was the catalyst for what we're seeing right now.
And what a cathartic game now for European fans. We started earlier, they're still awake watching this game, and Splyce, the only winless team left at Worlds, looking to knock down one of the arguable tournament favorites in Royal Never Give Up. 4,000 gold lead here, looking to maybe make that miracle run.
In doing so, they're making TSM incredibly happy as well.
Yeah,
they just
or
got
scared.
That game. Scared of Splyce.
TSM's got to play Splyce in the next game as well. There's a lot of moving parts as far as this group stage is concerned, and the potential for a four-way tie at 3-3 is always available as we go into week 2. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, though. It's a 3,500 gold lead for Splyce. And if we were to talk about Splyce's strengths coming into Worlds, you'd think this is exactly where they'd want to be because their mid and late game is so good. However, they had a 6,000 gold lead at one point against TSM and lost that game, so they need to be able to close this one out.
We don't talk about that game anymore. Yeah, Splyce's strength in Europe was the clutch moments, and especially the 1-3-1. That was their main strategy that they used, and they also came out in interviews and talked about how they perfected the 1-3-1 in Europe much earlier than other teams, and they kind of just scooted by on that way. They just outplayed Teams Micro. Nobody knew what to do against it. So we're waiting for this final turret to drop, and then we need to see if Mickey and Kobe move to the mid lane, and Splyce is actually going to play a more condensed
teleport behind them. Looking for the play on the bot lane. Turret, a TP gonna match as well. Trashy gonna get away from this one, but now it's 3 members strong. Looking for the play. Mickey gonna land the ulti, stuns up a couple, and here comes the re-engage. Looper's getting low, getting sniped down by Kavi. One more shot will do it. The heal keeps him alive. Nice play by Uzi, but on the other side of the map, Mata does go down. Nicely picked up there by Trashy. It's a 1-for-0, 5v4, still control of the bot lane. Should mean 3-0 on turrets.
And RNG is playing the fight card over and over when objectives are being contested. Instead of letting it go down and trying to pressure another lane, they are fighting over it, and when you lose those, you lose the game in a big way, because not only do you lose the objective, you also lose the fight.
But when you're on a fight card, you've got to make sure you match up the weight classes. Splyce are the heavyweights here. The 3,000-pound gorilla in this match looking to knock down Royal Never Give Up as they've knocked down all the outer turrets. The 5,000 gold lead now for a Drake.
And it all kind of just ties together for Splyce. They don't even want to get the dragon here because it's a Cloud Drake. They're just going to back off and continue the map pressure. Want to keep building on the fact that RNG is stuck in the base. Go for deep vision. Double teleports come out here. Kobe isn't challenged. If it's Jin in the fight, you get 4 shots off. After poking with QE and the 4th shot, he is incredibly happy.
Yeah, and as the fight continues, you can see RNG doesn't have a good way in. Looper got ulted by Malzahar right at the start, so the tank line was mostly non-existent. Somehow Mata gets split off towards the side where the rest of Splyce was joining the fight.
And Mickey was incredibly close to landing an Ignite there on Looper to take him down in the end of the fight. That wasn't an Ignite debuff, that was more than an Omicron on Looper right there. He did get the shield with the buckler, but if Mickey got that Ignite off, that was 2 kills, and that maybe would have meant the Dragon buying enough time here for Splyce.
At least it was 450 more gold with that kill coming through, but either way, it is now a reset map with this 4,500 gold lead. Splyce hoping to continue this one forward.
And they're setting in the 1-3-1 position here. They're putting Malzahar in the top lane, Jace in the bottom lane, and they're really doing what they like. They push up mid wave first. They have the aggressive poke. Jace, Jin with Elise is so strong, especially with a Brahmin there. They can really duel any 3v3 skirmish, then go for the deep vision, and use the wave push on the side lanes.
And even the specific lane matchups are good for Splyce. You've got Looper, who bought early armor for the Jin matchup, facing up against Malzahar.
For him.
And here comes the Devon Snipe. Slow number 1, slow number 2, into the suppression. This is going to be all the shots landing. Now, how much more can they get? Cocoon is in. There's the kill. Senka takes the credit.
That's exactly how you want to capitalize on a 1-3-1. Once you set it up, you push the other team into their turrets. If they disrespect their vision, you kill them.
And look what they did. Instead of moving Kobe all the way over to top lane, they can actually use his ultimate as a utility tool, just slow him down, but that leaves mid lane exposed. So Wunder, while he would push the bot lane, he moved to the mid lane and kept that wave pressure. So Splyce are a well-oiled machine with a lot of moving parts on the map right now, and that means they continuously have access to turrets in numbers advantage.
Slow
They
into
keep
Xiaohu.
winning fights.
Ooh, and the root and the shock blast. Look at the damage they've got. He's even burning down. from Malefic Visions. This might be enough control to take down top lane tier 2, and Splyce will not flinch. They will knock down another objective and grow the lead to 6,000.
And none of the other lanes are pushing for RNG. This is actually very poor response to the 1-3-1. They're either fighting head-on to the team that is ahead of them 5,000 gold, or they're having fewer people at the turret in an indefensible situation. They should have been getting farms somewhere else to at least keep this close.
It is because Splyce, on the back of that pick, they play Transformers. They go from 1-3-1 into a 4-1. They move their top laner into the mid lane, suddenly have 4 people in the top lane. They always force a numbers advantage here. And RNG have shown in the past that quick mid-game macro isn't their forte, so they just look, you know, fight, but they're so far down.
And this is the type of game that Splyce wanted to show on the world stage.
Yeah.
They're talking about, if you underestimate us, we will beat you. And this is the game they played in Europe. This is the criticism they have to fight against. They say, oh, you could 1-3-1 in Europe. That's cute. But now they're 1-3-1ing against the RNG team, who was good on the first game. Still cute. People criticize RNG's macro play, but it's what Splyce wanted to be able to show. They wanted to be able to show that their strengths could win games on the world stage.
Definitely, and just one win matters so much, especially it shows people why many analysts were rating Splyce higher than H2K coming into the tournament, because they had the map laid down, and H2K was still looking to get closer to their ceiling. Turns out they did. They finally fixed a lot of those issues, like the Baron plays yesterday, and they showed that they're actually a top team right now. Splyce arguably has a lower ceiling, but they had much more refined teamwork.
They brought the ladder with them to Worlds, and they're pretty much at that ceiling open to keep pushing forward. 6,500 up. That Drake's still alive, and finally looks like Malzahar and Elise going to go take it down.
Gotta go fast. Get Cloud Drake.
Yeah. 23 minutes, though, does feel a bit late to me on Drake, as far as when you're the team with map control, stacking up those buffs is pretty important.
And we talked a lot about stylistic differences from regions. There's one thing about Europe is they really don't like Cloud Drake, and Drake in general is actually a lower priority. It's the Baron that you can expect them to take priority on between the 20 and 30 minute mark.
Yeah, it turns out Europe forgot about Drake, but doesn't matter, because they had the good split push.
Yep.
I got Freak with me, I got support.
I said boo as well, sorry. I'm pretty sure you've made that joke before,
But
anyway.
Yeah, I've made that twice already. But if you wonder about RNG, why they keep fighting, is because actually they're a fantastic late game team fighting team, and it has historically been many of their strengths. The problem is they never kind of change. They always want to go for the late game team fight.
And RNG have also been a spectacular team fighting team. We can't sell them completely short here. They've been falling hugely far behind because they've made poor macro decisions, and their individual play didn't actually win the matchups this game. MLXG missed axes in the top side. Uzi and Mata died to the first gank and were unable to push a super strong early advantage when they had Splyce against the turrets. So when that fails and you don't have Mata on something like Alistair, you have to wonder where RNG's playmaking actually comes from.
I mean, they probably think it comes from the Realm Warps. Twice they've used them to go for an outpacing maneuver, trying to surprise, but twice they've arrived just late. In the top lane fight, Looper was already dead. In the bot lane fight, he got Malzahar ulted and burned down much faster than I think RNG expected, and it threw a bit of a spanner in the works for them.
Definitely did, and you've got to see Royal hope to catch back up now in this one. The gold deficit still 6,000 from their perspective, and maybe it gets better. Splyce have not gotten a lot of objectives in the last 8 minutes or so. It's petered out a little bit. They got a Cloud Drake and a tier 2 turret on the top side a little while back, but otherwise a holding pattern here, looking for the play onto the red buff. Trashy not going to get the steal. That will actually go over crucially to Uzi, but look at this Wonder Force. So Flash by Xiao, who is on the chase, gets the root, could be enough to get the kill. Looper's in the mix as well, and yes, finally a kill back on the board for the Chinese squad.
And Splyce would want to answer with Baron, but it's too early on in the game, and Looper still has teleport. Great Realm Warp there by Xiaohu as well as the Ghost, exactly what Krepo was just talking about.
Yeah, but they could actually just go for it because they have Voidlings and Elise, which means an incredibly quick Baron. Imagine if they started this a couple seconds earlier, but there are some wards in the area right now being placed.
They are now checking. Looper has teleport, walks back to the fountain to get the home guard buff for when he does do it. Voidlings timeout, out they go. That is teleport burned. Canceled, 3 minutes.
And more importantly, they didn't lose a single bit of health, and it shows you the power of a Malzahar in a Baron rush here, because you can do it very safely. It does cost them the mid lane turret, however.
Yeah, it lost them all the health on the mid lane wave. They push in, don't quite knock the turret down though, but the slow's still landing. A big knockup, but it's only really onto MLXG. Uzi did lose Flash though, and its significant resources now down, and that's the stun chain on that Xiaohu. It looks like they'll be able to pick him up. He's gonna flash, but the stun is still there. Another silence, and the kill comes through the shock flash from Wonder. A nice knockback for Looper, but he is still stunned, and that should be the kill if Shock Blast can come back up. He's burning down. Sencook slowed by Mata. Cocoon's gonna land. Shock blast in. Still not dead. The sniper Kabi gets him from downtown past the 3-point line.
This should be a really easy Baron right now. They can get more Voidlings. Olaf does not carry flash, so he has to run in head first into a Braum passive without the ultimate up here. So it's very likely that RNG are just going to yield.
If I've known RNG though, it's unlikely that they yield. Mata is actually looking to try and poke something in here.
And Splyce up in about 3-4 seconds if they can get MLXG
He's gonna
in
try
the
and steal it
pit.
with an axe.
That's gonna be almost impossible. 2,000 health, throws it. Ooh, okay, yes. Splyce does secure the Baron, but we have seen so many catastrophically rare Baron steals against European teams here at Worlds.
Yes,
I was-
we have.
I was-
Every Baron steal is tense.
Yep, I was ready for an aneurysm right there. If that Axe kid takes it after that Karma Q yesterday, it would have been really bad. But you look at the fight here. The early flash force on Uzi, everybody's forced to run without returning any damage.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Looper wasn't at the start of the fight, so no one's able to stand in front. Love the stun chain right here, getting the Braum stun right after he post flashes, and they get that kill. And this is actually the chase in this fight. Splyce landed all of their skill shots. It goes to show how tanky the Poppy can be, even when behind.
But it also shows that RNG's reluctancy to flash cost them 2 death here. Because they didn't flash the Braum Q, and the slow was just enough to get Malzahar in range. And then Looper didn't flash early himself. He got tagged again and got chased down here. So RNG can't be that greedy with their summoners.
And we say that when it doesn't work out, but we praise them when it does. And it's kind of the way that RNG plays, where they play with so much bravado that it looks great when they're able to save their summoners and pull off these amazing plays, and it falls flat on its face when they die time after time.
Flipping coins, sometimes it comes up heads, and wow, what a sick play. But unlucky, as some would say, in solo queue. Either way, it is Splyce coming up much better here in this one. The trap wall now coming up for Uzi, hoping to keep mid lane tier 2 alive, but Splyce make the rotation. Cloudrick helping a little bit as they get down to the bot lane tier 2. No defense to be had, grabbing it easily.
But it has to be so satisfying for this roster that trained so hard coming into Worlds. They get smashed 0-3 in the first week, become kind of the laughingstock of the community, especially with the resurgence of kind of the wildcard teams, you know, bringing up more victories home. Splyce was the only winless team left. But then the last 10 minutes have showed why people really rated Splyce high. They have good map movements, and they're following up in each other's plays.
Exactly. Now they're trying to poke off the turret with Baron minions and a Jace that can go through. The Caitlyn trap line, which normally defends turrets quite well, already has 2 of them gone and a 3rd one replaced right there. So very difficult for RNG to defend through this Baron buff.
Yeah, Malzahar actually a really good champ to mess with Caitlyn traps. Usually she gets like a max range hurricane shot that will punish you, but Malzahar passive does not apply any of the headshot particles. Combine that with a Braum shield that can soak up the hurricane particles as well, and suddenly you have 2 free clears.
Definitely helps a little bit. Right now, control over this Drake. It's going to be Mountain, and that's going to be a nice one there. Mountain, I think, the best late-game Drake, because taking Barons and taking turrets is the most important thing in the game, and it's going to help both of those things. Easy pickup there. Elder's next.
Unless you already have the objective control down, you want more poke power, but that's really nitpicking. I think Splyce would be happy with either Mountain or Infernal right here, especially when they have so much damage dealers on their comp.
Right away, Royal never give up, just seed control of that mid lane tier 2. 6-1 in turrets, 9-3 in kills, and Looper just buying 30 seconds by ulting back the minion wave.
Yeah, and this is still Baron for another 25 seconds.
Wonder gets caught out though, he is forced to flash away.
But without Looper coming in for a flank initiation, they can just disengage with Braum and Jace and Malzahar.
It also feels like the second that Snare comes out, technically a Caitlyn trap can be put up or a follow-up, you know. It seems very disjointed from RNG. Very hard to communicate that in the moment, but that's what you have to look for. Focus on a single target, take him out, remove parts of that gold lead.
We'll see if those plays can even happen. Nice by MLXG, saves, waits on the red buff, gives it over to Uzi once more. He is going to be the one to carry. You're seeing him, the only player on that team with, actually not the only one. You've got significant minion leads for both Xiaohu and Uzi, but still, it's an almost 3-item Caitlyn. We know that Champion can carry late game team fights if your front line lasts long enough, and Looper is tanky.
Yeah. And you can see Trashy trying to get a little bit of tankiness with the random dome and make it so Uzi can't completely cut through him.
Yeah. I really like Trashy's build. We've seen many AP Elises here, but with the early game lead they already had, just be a front line so that you can walk through the rest of that roster. I think very smart by Trashy to build tank here.
Especially if you look at their top lane choices as well. With the Jace, there's no need for more damage. There's only need for lockdown, catch potential. You're already ahead, just like you said, Freak, right there. You have a damage dealer in the top lane. I think that's a great choice from Trashy. But right now, Splyce need to close it out. They need to keep suffocating RNG, keep them in their base, grab the control, and make picks.
Uh-oh, Xiaohu, how? Oh, he tried the juke with the flash, still gets hit for the knockup, into suppression, into the kill. The mid laner is down.
He couldn't make it back into his Realm Orb. He got zoned out as far as the ultimate goes from Mickey X, as far as I could tell.
As soon as you are stunned or silenced, it stops casting, and the CC land, he tried to flash to juke it, still got tagged by the PB AoE version of it. Uzi rooted up, but he's not going to get anywhere.
It's a bold move from Splyce as well, because usually in the heat of the moment, you get kind of panicky. He's like, does it actually stop it? Am I going to waste my ulti? Is he going to make it out? But they commit, they get the kill, and 4v5, much easier to play with the Rise off the table.
Yeah, and RNG pushing too far outside before they had to. Still 2 minutes on the Baron, which is the next team that was naturally going to draw them out of the base. But now they're without their Rise, and 2 turrets are getting assaulted at once.
More hits in, top lane getting small chunks out, but yeah, that's a large chunk out of Uzi with that one. You're seeing Wonder going back and forth, clears the mid lane wave, post rotation, ships the top lane champions, comes back down. 1.5 minutes left on Baron, and it's up to Splyce to continue that suffocating ward control.
Right here we see it again. Xiaohu gets caught out. Realm Warp, is he in or out? He's in technically, but just just as
CC breaks it.
CC breaks the channel. And they're basing right now because they really want to refill that Ruby Sidestone on Mickey. And then while RNG is using the sweepers on the breadcrumbs that are left in the jungle, Splyce are bringing more to the table. Immediately challenging and attacking that deep vision again, hopefully. Should be their goal, but it looks like they're fanning out again for 1-3-1. They're so comfortable with this 1-3-1 composition.
It's been working, honestly. Right now, we haven't seen that deep backline Realm Warp flank. Those just haven't been successful yet from Xiaohu in the mid lane for Royal Never Give Up, and Splyce can just kind of play that spread out game.
Yeah, look, he's lurking. Senkuk's lurking in the river. He's afraid to go all the way to the top lane just because of that threat here. So they're condensing together for the deep vision. Then they likely will have to fix the top wave. But after they do that, they're in a pristine position to start baiting this Nasher.
Yeah, they're trying to keep all the waves pushed at the same time. MLXG is doing a pretty good job of keeping some of the vision line there. And Splyce does have to proceed with caution, because if there is a good Realm Warp play while they're out of position, it can swing the game and give Baron right back to RNG.
They're pinging on the bot lane right now in that brush too.
That's going to be the risk. Yeah, you can always look for the pick onto Wonder, but he backs out securely. There's wards in the jungle for him, but not that'll watch the mid lane rotations. And nothing to be done there. Fight once again over that brush we saw last game. Royal currently holding a pink ward in it.
And no river vision, so if Wonder gets a really good Shock Blast combo off here.
Mata's low, Mata's rooted.
Start.
No ult's gonna come through. They're gonna let that one slide for now.
Oh, 2-man Baron start.
They can easily 2-man Baron. They have so many things to tank the Baron here with Elise and Malzahar. Watch them not even take
two
damage.
summoners. They've got
this Baron.
more minions than mid lane does right now.
It's the equivalent to playing Zoo in Hearthstone. They're just spawning out minions everywhere.
RNG does roam over and get the ward though, but that means you could see a fight. They weren't taking damage.
Looper by himself to the Realm Warp. Looks for Kami. A lot of damage. They can't quite kill off the Jhin, and he will get away with an ulti coming in soon. Now a root on Mata, but look at Wonder running out of health, tackled into the wall, and that's going to be the kill picked up by Uzi. 1-for-0, and MLXG is tanky, but re-engaged upon. Now 1-for-1. The jungler is dead. Ooh, they get the root onto Uzi, but is there follow-up? The answer is no.
Really interesting fight right there as Splyce all decide to take up a very defensive position, and also Wonder never flashed over the wall because I believe chain CC. So I think that's a fight where Splyce could have peeled and won, but they played very passively.
I think what actually happened there, what threw them off guard completely, is they expected a Rise to come out of the Realm Warp. It's so associated with Rise ulti that they, I think, were surprised that it was just Looper coming out there.
Oh, the stun on Mata, he's dead! Nicely played, he was on a ward. What a setup.
Cost them 2 flashes though, so the trade for support has to be working for the Baron here because they expended both flashes on the lives.
Yeah, and Wonder can teleport in 10 seconds, so it will be a 5v3 at the Baron if they wait the 5 seconds. RNG is going to want to fight this.
It's a smart play by Splyce. Now, can they control this properly? Looking to finish down on Baron. They get that pickup. Now they're re-engaged. Stun onto Looper. More CC, but no Braum Q land. So Looper able to walk away, but they get the suppression. He's going to burn down. A slow to Uzi. A root. That's going to be a dead Caitlyn. A double kill for Kami. And down the mid lane they go.
Even when it's inadvisable, RNG's always going to try and fight you. And Splyce used that to the utmost advantage. They had the smite secure. They had the confidence. And then they land all the skill shots for the fight.
Amidst cheers of "Let's go Splyce" from the crowd here in San Francisco. Mid lane inhibitor is down. Still 30 seconds of 5 versus 3 with a Baron buff looking for the Nexus turrets. The cocoon not quite gonna land. Pushing back down, MLXG gonna get chomped down. 5 versus 2 now, looking for their first win of Worlds and the miracle run to make the quarterfinals.
The death timers are still quite long for RNG, and they get Mata again!
Xiao, who is zoned off the left-hand side, Shane slow, gets the root, runs away. That doesn't matter though, there's a new minion wave. Down to the Nexus turrets, and that's going to be their first win of Worlds. Splyce knocks down Royal Never Give Up. 2 more to go.
And they should actually be brimming with confidence right now. This week in Worlds, Europe has now won 6 games in a row.
Yep.
Which is in stark contrast to the 1-8 beginning they had in week 1. So what a way for them to start with a decisive win over Royal Never Give Up.
Yeah, and some victories are handed over by mistakes and people overreaching, but I really feel like Splyce claimed this one themselves. They played their signature style, some of their signature champions. They got CS advantages in the top lane. They played a horrible matchup in the bot lane and persevered, even though their jungle did not show up. And then suddenly the snowball started rolling based around aggressive invades in the top lane triangle, and they made it work.
Yeah, I really have to shout out Kabe and Mickey X for dealing with Uzi and Mata, with the Caitlyn Karma super poke lane, picking a tank support and a Jhin, and being, you know, the 11 CS to 1 start, the constant harass, to be able to turn that lane around and actually have Mata go 0-5-2 in the game is really impressive, especially after what happened in week 1.
Definitely, and it's also the kind of the story of Kabe as a player. He's always overlooked, always looked at as just a mediocre AD carry. You know, nobody expects anything from him. In spring, he was rated among the worst, and he got Mickey X, complete rookie coming into the team, and they had to mentor him. This guy was face-taking left and right, but they grew into a really solid bot lane. They were the second best bot lane in Europe for the longest time by a margin, beating out all the others. They kind of failed in playoffs, but it's so satisfying to see them kind of get the resurgence and fight back.
And it's funny because it's the same story here at World. Splyce were the European finalists, and they took a game off G2. They were the #2 team in Europe, and everyone said, they're just screwed. TSM, Samsung, Royal, 0-6, sorry guys. You know, maybe you'll learn something at Worlds, but now the run gets to happen. They get this win here. TSM's up in 20 minutes. That's one more. That's one more.
Yeah.
Tiebreaker. Let's go.
We were expecting rock, paper, scissors between the top 3 teams. Rock, paper, scissors, Splyce.
Yeah, Splyce is
Now they
actually
can
on
take
top
some
now.
wins.
And we'll see if they can keep it going. It's been a beautiful game to watch. We've got more in store, but for now, let's hand it off to our analysts to dial in on that win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Splyce showing up on the world stage here in their first game of the day, showing us what we had heard so much about in terms of their play, being able to orchestrate a win with a lead in that mid game.
Yeah, Splyce played the mid game just so damn well, but RNG, Royal Never Give Up, more like results not guaranteed. I have no idea what they were doing in this game. They're so bipolar as a team that you just have no idea what's going to come out.
I was going to call them like a coin flip team. You never really know what to get from them, but it's more like rolling a dice and only one side is a victory, because you really cannot tell. When they get that victory, incredible. You'll never see something as powerful as them, but the other 5, disaster.
Yeah, they're just so extreme. You know, if they don't win early game, this team falls apart completely. We praised Uzi Mata a lot coming into this. We talked about the standard laning phase should be in their favor. It was for the first like 6-7 minutes, and then Uzi decided to get hit by every single snare in the world and actually played an awful game.
Right, and let's talk about this, because as you mentioned, you know, RNG out to the races early with a gank top lane. Beautiful sidestep by Wonder, because if that kill had gone over, that could have spelled disaster for that lane in the other direction, because we expect Jaces to get ahead, but if that kill goes over, could be bad news. As you mentioned as well, Splyce not off to a very good start early in that bot lane, but quickly got themselves back into it by hitting their skill shots and a couple crucial ganks and kills coming through early in the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's any criticism for Splyce, it is like, again, the first 5-6 minutes. Trashy was late for the first top gank by MLXG, where I think he should have been there and actually prevented Wonder from losing that flash. Bot lane, of course, falling behind because of the way they drafted. It was a fairly risky draft, honestly. It was all focused on winning top side of the map and kind of surrender bot side. That was risky, but then they start outplaying after those 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, even the pathing was from bottom side to top side to just make sure that Wonder got ahead. And I really liked his play towards the mid game, particularly just pushing a wave and then grouping with the team and making it so difficult for RNG to defend the actual turret. When you're dealing with the Jace poke, when you're dealing with the Malzahar, and you don't buy a QSS ever, you're going to get killed and you're going to give up every objective.
38 minutes, no QSS, had an Abyssal Scepter instead.
Unlucky.
It was incredibly weird to see that from Xiaohu.
And we have to talk about kind of a crucial minute or so in the game. It came 14 minutes in with a turret dive orchestrated top lane by Splyce, where they're picking up 2 kills. And then cross side of the map, we have the 2v2 in the bot lane picking up another 2 kills. I mean, that was a huge influx of gold for the team.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Splyce kind of found something we didn't expect them to have, where suddenly they mechanically start actually outplaying a team like RNG. Bottom lane, that was just a 2v2 lane where Mickey and Copy honestly just destroyed Uzimata once they got to level 6 and Karma didn't get anything from her ulti. The dive top lane, that's what we wanted earlier almost, because we wanted like, hey, Trashy, camp that lane.
Yeah, well, TSM is loading up on stage behind us, as you can hear. But this stat here, I think, tells the whole story of it exactly that, what you mentioned. Well, hey, when RNG is on and they're crushing the game, yeah, sure, they create a 2.7K gold advantage between just one person. And then this time around, Splyce able to strike back Copy with a 400 gold lead at that 15-minute mark. But then it was about pushing things forward. And we saw maybe a little bit of a lull in that mid-game. I know, Deficio, you would have liked to have seen Splyce maybe be a little bit more aggressive towards that Dragon, get those stacking up earlier. But all in all, pretty impressive play.
Well, I think as you guys were mentioning yesterday, I think we're kind of judging these teams on the basis of perfect play, and that's just not going to happen right now. All these teams are not at that level. They're at a much more robust level of play, and watching them just execute with really nice plays that are just, in theory, very good, and maybe the execution isn't there, is what we should be criticizing them for. And I think that Splyce did a really good job, particularly around the Baron and how they were able to turn and even try to 2-man sneak it.
Yeah, a lot of teams just want to make sure they don't make a super stupid play that can actually lose them the game. So they'd rather, you know, not risk maybe 2-manning the Baron and try and fight 50-50 smite it. And that is okay. It gives a little bit slower mid games. But when you have something like Malzahar Elise, you can just have Voidlings tank that Baron and actually take it down. That's what they did over and over, and they got it down in the end.
That's where the game winner was, and that's what I want to take a look at. The play around Splyce with that Malzahar, with the Elise Spiderlings, knowing they could start it up time and time again, but still look for fights.
I mean, combinations of disrespect aligned as well with good plays from Splyce. We saw the weak early game, maybe questionable decisions, but they bring it back extremely well. It's similar to the first game, but only this time around only one team was firing, and RNG were left respondent every single time.
Like the turn here as well. Obviously now that RNG is coming in to try and stop them, but it's way too late, and instantly you turn around. Crumbs, you said earlier, no QSSs. Yeah, makes it pretty easy to play Malzahar there.
Yeah, and it's very nice to go kill a Poppy first, target closest, and at this stage in the game, just being one man down, regardless of what role it is, you're in the back foot of pressure. You're going to be giving objectives, and they're going to use that advantage to just push all the way for the win.
And that's a gold graph that we like to see right there, gentlemen. Almost entirely in the blue, meaning one team controlled the game with the lead that they had created. But part of their big advantage there was Wunder in the top lane, and we have to award him player of the game for that crucial sidestep in the beginning, then creating a huge CS advantage for himself in that top lane. That turret went down very early, and that was key.
Yeah, that was a pretty big deal in the top lane, both avoiding ganks. I was talking to Deficio during the game about this. The bottom lane of RNG did more damage than the rest of the map. The support did more than everybody but Uzi. That is the sign of the undoing of RNG already.
I think the two solo laners for RNG, really, again, we said this before, they didn't play well enough coming into this week, and they're the guys we're looking at. Xiaohu tried his best in mid lane, obviously was camped quite a bit, but then Looper in the top lane did less damage than his support. I think actually Mata was twice above him because there was some trading in the laning phase. Looper gets camped, he gets killed on a tower, flashes into Ryze ultis. Doesn't work.
And finally, Crumbs, let's just talk about what this does to the group, because TSM having dropped that game there to Samsung Galaxy to start off the day made things very scary. But now, Splyce showing very much so that they can take a game off of RNG, perhaps off of all 3 of the teams ahead of them in the standings. Who knows what's going to happen in our next 4?
And more important for them is such a good confidence boost, because they were giving so much praise to the Mata and Uzi bottom lane before then. Just being able to solo kill them multiple times is just so fun for you to be able to be in that position and then move on to the rest of the game. And any team that is looking to play them after is going to be really scared, because that was some really crisp mid-game play from them.
Well, the stage is set for an exciting day. When we return, TSM returns to the stage to take it on to duke it out with Splyce.
I fight for a brighter tomorrow. I should do the voiceover for Jace.
Holy moly. I should do the cosplay. You can do the voiceover.
Does get the knockback, but does he have the movement speed? He's gonna flash Looper, buys him some time, the undertow lands, and he falls! And Wunder gets away! Looper saved his life, I'm pretty sure.
I got the red. Maybe I can kill him.
Nice, man.
Nice.
Nice.
I can kill him.
No, I'll get him. Oh, fuck, man. Well played. Good job.
Sencook slowed by Mata. Cocoon's gonna land, shock blast in. Still not dead. The sniper Kabi gets him from downtown past the 3-point line. They get the suppression. He's gonna burn down. A slow to Uzi. The root. That's gonna be a dead Caitlyn. A double kill for Kabi. Splyce knocks down Royal Never Give Up. 2 more to go.
Dare to be different. Revel in the impossible. Introducing a little anarchy. Disrupting the natural order. Because a hero lies in all of us. Nothing is beyond your reach. Claim your victory and go forth to conquer new worlds.